Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Scoops AFLW draft recap video. We're going through every selection from pick 1 all the way down to pick 63. Congratulations to all 63 individuals who were drafted last night at the AFLW draft. Your dreams have been realised, but a message I always like to tell everyone. Unfortunately, to the people that did miss out, never give up on your dreams. A prime example I always put out there was Adelaide from now the Roos, who was drafted by the Tigers at 29 years of age. 3 seasons later, she's a 2-time All-Australian and was one of the best midfielders in the AFLW competition this year. And now next season, she's going to go play for the Premiers of 2024 in the North Melbourne Football Club. It just shows there's many more examples, of players that have gotten drafted or picked up as mature age players from 18 all the way to 29, and later. So it just shows to never, ever give up. Unfortunately, there was some unlucky names, but those people know who they are. Do not give up on your dreams. Your dreams will eventually be realised, and it'll just make that would fuel you up to want to continue to do good things at whatever club you're playing at in 2025. And it just makes the return to the competition, or the debut to your club, the return to your state league club, and drive and passion to get another chance at the AFLW, or in some people's cases, for the first time. It will just make that announcement even more sweeter than it would have been for some of the girls last night in future years. It just makes that even more special, and never give up. Now, how I'm going to do this, I'm going to mention club by club who you selected. But first of all, I just want to go through the top 20 names, and then we'll go through club by club. So, with pick 1, Collingwood selected Ash Centra, the star from the Gippsland Power, an absolute star, a great person is Ash Centra, who's been touted as the number 1 pick for at least 2 years, just like Loz Young for the Power was touted 2 years in advance. You just know if you're touted as a number 1 pick for 2 years in a row, you are going to be good. You just know you're going to be good. And Ash Centra will be a great addition for the Pies. They did well last night, and we'll get to some more names they picked up later on. But Ash Centra for the Pies at pick 1. Congratulations to Ash. At pick 2, Melbourne placed a bid on Havana Harris, and Gold Coast matched and will select Havana Harris. Absolute great selection for the Suns as well through their academy. They drafted 5 academy players. But yeah, it's no surprise that they matched the bid. At pick 3, Melbourne had the choice again, and they went and selected from WA, Molly O'Hare. This was touted whether it would be Molly or whether it would be Zippy. They went Molly O'Hare, tall, running winger, half back as well. Very quick and a good decision maker as well, and a good kick on her, Molly O'Hare, and a long kick as well. It was a real toss of the coin. They went with Molly O'Hare, and I think that'll be a great selection for the Demons. At pick 4, GWS selected Sarah Howley from the Geelong Falcons, a midfielder. I mean, great selection for the Giants. I actually predicted this in my Phantom draft to happen. And yeah, Sarah Howley, pick for the Giants, a midfielder that they desperately need, will accumulate the ball, but can run as well, and has got a good kick on her as well. So a great selection for the Giants. At pick 5, the Swans really got one of the steals of the draft in Zippy Fish from WA. Zippy by name, Zippy on the field, a great player. Her decision-making is elite. Her kicking is elite. To be honest, she could have gone pick 2, to be brutally honest, but she didn't. The Swans have got a great player on their hands in Zippy Fish. The Swans lost some players through the trade period. They gained some. Zippy to be in that midfield with Laura Garner is going to be a scary proposition for the Swans opposition in 2025. At pick 6, Carlton selected Poppy Schultz from SA from Glenelg, a tall defender. Now, I have to mention it, but I know some people don't like mentioning this, but Poppy is the sister of Matilda Schultz, Obviously, Matilda's a ruck and Poppy's a key defender. Carlton, I feel like this was a bit of a surprise selection. I thought they could have gone any way with this. They would have been thrilled that Sophie McKay did not get a bid before this pick, meaning they could pick up Poppy Schultz. But a key defender, Poppy Schultz for the Blues at pick 6. Pick 7, West Coast selected Lucia Painter. A great selection for the Eagles, a midfielder from the Bendigo Pioneers. West Coast needs some support in that midfield, or do they really? But they're going to add another star in that midfield. They've already got Ella Roberts. They've got Ali Drennan. You got plenty of other players playing through there as well. So you add Lucia Painter to the mix, makes their midfield even stronger at the Eagles down in WA. At pick 8, the Western Bulldogs selected key forward from Victoria, Emma McDonald, who was a part of the grand final in Coates Talent League for the Oakley Chargers. She's a good key forward, and the Bulldogs need some tall forward options. And Emma McDonald can provide that. At pick 9, Essendon selected Grace Baloney, a goal kicker from Victoria. Something that Essendon do need a lot of goal kickers. They lost Amber Clark in the trade period to the Saints. Grace Baloney will fill those shoes as a forward option for the Bombers. At pick 10, Geelong selected Alexis Gregor, a key defender backup ruck option. Lexi can play in a few positions. She's from the Bendigo Pioneers. I felt like Geelong were probably going to choose a tall, and there was going to be between Gregor and Georgie Brisbane. They went with Lexi Gregor. But yeah, that's a interesting selection for the Cats. At pick 11, Richmond selected Sierra Greaves from Victoria, a gun midfielder. You just know what a good player she's going to be. Now, they lost A-Lee Sheeran in the trade period. Sierra Greaves will be a great, great addition to the Richmond midfield, along with the best player in the competition in Mon Conti, Ali McKenzie and Ali Dalloway. I said when they lost A-Lee Sheeran, they needed to replace A-Lee Sheeran in the midfield, and they have with Sierra Greaves, who will be another great addition to their Richmond midfield. So let's see what the Tigers can do in 2025, along with Sierra Greaves. At pick 12, Essendon selected Holly Ridewood from Victoria, a midfielder. From the Northern Knights too, had some good games in the championships for Vic Metro, And Essendon, another interesting selection for the Bombers, but I feel like one that could work as well. There's probably a few other names they really could have selected, but they went with Holly Ridewood, so it'll be interesting to see how she goes. We picked 13, the Adelaide Crows selected India Rashid, someone who was touted as a top 5 selection from SA, a midfielder. The only reason I can feel like she slid this far down is because of the go-home factor. Maybe that was a thing, I'm not sure, but that is a great selection for the Crows. The steal of this draft, Zippy Fish was a steal at her selection. Some others I'm about to tell you were steals as well. But India Rashid at pick 13 is an absolute steal for the Crows. A midfielder, played for SA in the state championships and did really well. At pick 14, Fremantle selected Georgie Brisbane. Key forward from the Eastern Rangers, loves kicking goals, dominated for Vic Metro in the state championships, had some games where she kicked 5 and 4 back-to-back weeks. Great player, Georgie Brisbane, we've had on the podcast as well. Will be an absolute great addition to the Dockers' tall forward line options after they lost Ariana Hetherington in the trade period on deadline day. At pick 15, Hawthorn selected Lavinia Cox, who has a rookie contract with Bendigo Spirit in the Women's Basketball League in the WNBL. So someone that plays basketball, obviously we hear about players that get drafted in the men's and women's competitions with basketball backgrounds. Lavinia Cox hasn't really played much footy until throughout this season. So an interesting selection for the Hawks, like they've done with pretty much all their selections, Hawthorn, which we'll get to shortly. With pick 16, Brisbane selected Claudia Wright from WA. She broke her leg on the eve of the state championships for WA. Had 2 injuries in the last 2 years that have really set her back to not playing much footy. But played was a part of the AFLW Academy, the WA state team. It was still around the group. Played some games in between all that. I feel like for Brisbane, it's a gamble they can take because Claudia can take her time getting into the club, recovering from an injury still. And I feel like Brisbane, they don't really have a need to add more players that like some other clubs do to have to play straight away. Claudia can enter their midfield group, which is already star-studded with Belle Dawes and Ellie Anderson, just to name a few, and play with the back line as well. Pick 17, Geelong bidded on Sophie McKay, and Carlton quickly matched the bid. And Sophie McKay fell all the way to pick 17, which is a bit of a surprise. From the Sandy Dragons, a mid-forward, loves kicking goals, loves the goal celebration, and that's a steal for Carlton at pick 17. At pick 18, Geelong selected Sienna Tallaridi from Victoria, a halfback. They can play through the midfield as well. I feel like Geelong were an interesting club, which I'll get to when I overall grade Geelong, but it's a good selection of Sienna Tallaridi for Geelong at pick 18. So on to Sienna. At pick 19, Port Adelaide selected WA young star and midfielder Lily Patterson. Now, some people would say Lily is a bolter, but the work that she'd put in for Swan Districts this year and WA footy, it's a credit to her to not originally be in the WA state squad in the early part of the year, and then to find her way in the squad and be the club's or the team's best player through the WA state championships, averaging the most disposal, I think it was 25.5 exactly, 5.5 clearances, 6 tackles a game, and to be their best player is a credit to her. And putting all the work that she absolutely has deserved this recognition to join the power at pick 19. Lily Patterson will be an absolute steal for the Port Adelaide Football Club. Mark my words, you can bookmark that, and I'll say that for a few others as well. Lily's a great selection for the power, and she'll just complement their already star-studded young midfield. You have Lily Patterson now in that team with Loz Young, Piper Windows, Sinead Goody, and co in that midfield. Abby Dowrick, it just makes that midfield look even more stronger. So congratulations to Lily Patterson joining the power with pick 19. With pick 20, Richmond selected Zoe Hargraves, another midfield option from Victoria for Richmond, be an absolute great addition to their side. As I just mentioned before, with Mon Conti, Ellie Dalloway, Ellie McKenzie, Ciara Greaves, and now Zoe Hargraves in that mix as well. Makes Richmond look a very dangerous proposition yet again in season 2025. Now, I'm going to go through club by club. Please do remember to subscribe if you haven't already. Share this video around and smash the like button. Would greatly appreciate it. All your support means the world to me. Means more than you think by sharing the video around, subscribing, everything like that. I greatly appreciate it very much. All right, so now let's go through club by club. But before I even do that, let's actually put the banner up right there. No, I had the right one up. I don't know what's going on there. Of the first round there. Obviously, you can read it on the screen there, but for the people on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, pick 1 to the Pies was Ash Centra. Pick 2 was Ivana Harris to the Suns. Pick 3, Molly O'Hare to the Demons. Sarah Howley to the Giants with pick 4. Zippy Fish with pick 5 to the Swans. Pick 6 for Carlton, Poppy Schultz. Pick 7 for the Eagles, Lucia Painter. Pick 8 for the Western Bulldogs, Emma McDonald. Number 9 for the Bombers, Grace Baloney. Number 10 for Geelong, Alexis Gregor. Pick 11 for the Tigers, Ciara Greaves. Pick 12 for the Bombers, Holly Ridewood. Pick 13 for the Crows, India Rashid. Pick 14 for Fremantle, Georgie Brisbane. Pick 15 for the Hawks, Lavinia Cox. Pick 16 for the Lions, Claudia Wright. Pick 17 for Carlton, Sophie McKay. Pick 18 for Geelong, Sienna Tallaridi. Pick 19 for the Power, Lily Patterson. And for Richmond at pick 20, Zoe Hargraves. Now, a few other names I do want to actually mention before I even go through club by club is some other players that I thought, are really good selections for some clubs, and some that I'm surprised they really went as late as they did. Like obviously the names I already mentioned, like Georgie Brisbane and Lily Patterson and Zippy Fish going in the positions they were, absolute steals for those clubs, those 3 players joining them clubs respectively. I think Grace Martin at pick 22, the Giants, is an absolute great selection. Could have gone as early as pick 14 or around that mark. Grace has played a few positions for SA, killed it in the state championships, as I mentioned in my Phantom Draft video and other videos in the past. will be absolute great addition to the Giants. Midfield and even can play off halfback and half forward if need be. And versatility is so important these days. Charlotte Riggs to the Eagles at pick 24. Thought that's a great selection. A key defender, intercept defender from Central Districts in the AFLW. Be a great addition to the Eagles' tall defenders alongside Charlie Thomas. Well, technically Charlotte Thomas, so another Charlotte at the Eagles. Sarah Powsey for the Bulldogs, a midfielder at pick 25. I think that's a great selection. It could have gone early as well. Taya Chambers for Essendon, a key defender from WA. Be a great selection for the Bombers at pick 30. Holly Egan, the sister of Grace Egan, went to Freo at 34. That could be a good selection. Holly is more of a taller defender type option, different to her sister Grace, who plays in the midfield. Gemma Charity at Port Adelaide at pick 40. I'm telling you now, Gemma was talked about as a potential pick 1 only 2 seasons ago, but had an ACL injury at the start of this year, unfortunately, and some injuries along the way, which probably, cost her draft range. But for the power, I guarantee you that is going to be a steal. Mark my words, bookmark this. Gemma Charity and Lily Patterson will be 2 of the steals of this year's draft period, and both went to the power. Nyali Milne, at Gold Coast at pick 41, part of their academy, will be a good selection there. Lulu Field went at pick 46 for the Blues. That's a steal as well. One of the biggest deals also, on top of the names I've already mentioned, for the Crows at pick 44 is Georgia McKee. Probably one of the best small forwards in this year's draft, who was linked around 15 and went at 44. I cannot believe it. Maybe that was also a go-home factor. She is from SA, and Adelaide picked her up. And one more I want to mention individually before I go through club by club is Indy Strom, went to Fremantle at pick 51. The sister, there we go again with the sisters and all that. The sister of Mim Strom, their star ruck at the Dockers. Indy had been a train-on with Freo this season, played in one of the practice matches against the Eagles in the practice match time frame, and surprising her sister at work yesterday. That video is one of the best draft video reaction videos I've ever seen. There's some plays in the past in the women's and men's competitions that you've seen that are fantastic, but this Indy Strom one is very, very hard to beat. That, if you haven't seen it, go on the Freo page and check it out. It's fantastic reaction, Indy and her sister Mim. What was probably funny about that is Mim Strom knew she was surprising a new draftee, but little did she know that player was her sister. And what I did find surprising, that she didn't know where her own sister worked. So I thought you would know that, but anyway, it just made that moment even sweeter then, doesn't it? And great reaction and great reward for Indy Strom, who's now joined her sister at the Dockers. Right, now let's go through club by club, shall we? Okay, so I'm going to go through each club pick by pick and a grading out of 10. The Crows, let's start with the Adelaide Crows. They had 2 selections, India Rashid at pick 13 and Georgia McKee at pick 44. I mean, that's going to be hard to beat. India Rashid was a top 5 pick. Georgia McKee was touted around pick 15. So getting a player worth a top 5 pick at 13, massive steal. And getting someone that was touted as a top 15 pick at 44, you absolutely stole the draft, the Crows. The Adelaide Crows, with their 2 selections only, absolutely bloody nailed it. So well done to the Crows, a 10 out of 10, and it's going to be hard to beat, if at all. Brisbane, with pick 16, selected Claudia Wright, which I mentioned earlier, and Lily Baker, part of their academy, at pick 39, a tall player. So Brisbane Lions, they did pretty solid as well. I'm going to give them a 7 out of 10, the Brisbane Lions. Carlton, with pick 6, selected Poppy Schultz. Pick 17, they matched a father-daughter bid for Sophie McKay. And Lulu Field at pick 46. Carlton, I really do like the selection of Sophie McKay, which was always going to happen. And getting Lulu Field at pick 46, I think, is a great acquisition. So for Carlton, I'm going to give them a 5 out of 10, though. I just feel like there were some other players at the selections they selected at they could have got who could have filled a need a bit better. I feel like their midfield is well stocked, but everywhere else, which I mean, they kind of did address with Poppy Schultz as key defender. I just feel like Key forwards is something they really needed to address, and they did not do that. They could have selected Emma McDonald or Georgie Brisbane, and they didn't do that. They didn't go for a ruck either, which I thought they should have. So, bit of in the middle for me with Carlton. So, 5 out of 10. Collingwood with pick 1 selected Ash Centra. They couldn't stuff that up because there was about 5 names you could pick, and all would have been worthy options. Ash Centra is a star from the Gippsland Power, mid forward. They're talking about marquee players. Ash Centra will be absolutely that at pick 1. Georgia Knight, someone who loves a goal celebration at pick 26 from the Eastern Rangers, a forward, medium-sized forward. The Pies fans will love her excitement and energy she'll bring to the Pies. And Violet Patterson, the father-daughter selection at pick 42. Violet Patterson, I thought, was well capable of being a player in the top 15. A midfielder from SA, was the captain of the SA side in the state championships. Just an all-round great player for now the Pies. So the Pies absolutely nailed the draft yet again. The Pies, I'm going to give them a 9 out of 10. They did very, very well, the Pies. Essendon with pick 9 selected Grace Baloney. Pick 12, Holly Ridewood. Pick 30, Taya Chambers. And Sophie Strong at pick 35. Ridewood, pick 12, Baloney, number 9, Chambers, pick 30, and Sophie Strong, pick 35. Now, I already mentioned about the other 3. So, Sophie Strong is a midfielder from Tassie. I believe the only Tassie player to be drafted in the women's draft this year. A grading for the Bombers out of 10. It's an interesting one. I feel like at 12 and 35, around that range, they could have really selected a few other players like Ciara Greaves. I thought they should have got at pick 12. And at pick 35, there was a few other players like Georgie McKee. I feel like the Bombers needed to address a small forward, and they didn't do that. But doesn't mean that the players they selected won't be good. I just feel like there was a more of a need, or someone who I had higher from a power rankings side of things that they should have selected. For the Bombers, I give them a 5 out of 10. Fremantle, with pick 14, they selected Georgie Brisbane. Pick 34, they selected Holly Egan. Pick 38, they selected Evie Parker. And pick 51, they selected Indy Strom. Georgie Brisbane, love the selection of Georgie Brisbane. Holly Egan could be a very good selection as well. So for the Dockers, I give them a 6 out of 10. They didn't do too bad, and I like who they brought in. So Fremantle, with the selections that they have done, I give them a 6 out of 10, as I said. For Geelong, they selected Lexi Gregor at pick 10, Sienna Tallareddy at pick 18, Piper Dunlop, a VFLW Geelong ruckman, they've selected at pick 37. So Geelong, I feel like they fall into the bracket of Essendon, where I feel like they could have gone elsewhere with their selections. Not saying, again, not downing any of the selections that any of these clubs have made. I'm just saying from who I would have picked in the positions they were in. I thought Georgie Brisbane was someone, if they were going to select a tall forward, that she would be the one. If they were going to select a ruck late in the draft, I thought Keely Hardingham, who went to the Bulldogs, who was the best V4W ruckman this year by a fair way. And Sienna Tallareddy, I think that selection speaks for itself. I think that's a good selection there. They could have gone Grace Martin at 18 as well. I feel like that would have been more of a need as well. So I feel like if they had gotten Georgie Brisbane and Sienna Tallareddy, or Grace Martin and Sienna Tallareddy, and Keely Hardingham as the ruck option, I feel like it would have been a lot better. Or even Ciara Greaves, they could have picked up that Richmond got with Grace Martin or Georgie Brisbane, a mixture of those 3. And Keely Hardingham as the ruck option I would have personally done. But to say doesn't mean that the options they got were bad. In fact, they still did pretty well. But I'm going to give the Geelong Football Club a 5 out of 10. Right, so Gold Coast, they got their 5 academy players. Havana Harris at pick 2, Heidi Talbot at 27, Mia Salisbury at 29, Nyali Milne at 41, and Tara Harrington at 47. Got what they needed to do. Got their players, no hassle at all in terms of bids coming at certain times that would stuff them up. So 7 out of 10 for me for the Gold Coast Suns. One to watch, Nyali Milne and Mia Salisbury. No one's really talking about them. Everyone's talking about Havana Harrison, fair enough too. But Mia Salisbury and Nyali Milne can be some very good selections that could play footy straight away, along with Havana Harris next season. So 2 names to keep an eye on, Mia Salisbury and Nyali Milne. So 7 out of 10. The Giants, like the Crows, they had 2 selections and they bloody nailed them. Sarah Howley from the Geelong Falcons at pick 4 and Grace Martin from the not Central Districts, from the Woodville West Torrens. I should know that. I've had Grace on the podcast before. But yeah, Grace is a great selection. Plays through the midfield, plays a halfback, plays a half forward, and shown her versatility in the state championships for SA. And the game I was at, she was playing half forward 1 minute, then she was playing in the midfield, then she was playing off halfback, and she did really well in all 3 positions. So the versatility, and that's what the Giants spoke about in their little information that they quoted from their list manager and co about the selections of Sarah Howley and Grace. They loved the versatility of Grace and Sarah's ability in the midfield. Be great selections for the Giants. They nailed it. 10 out of 10. There's no other way you can put it. I mean, they could have selected Sippy Fish. But outside of that, 10 out of 10. Sarah Howley is a great selection, and so is Grace Martin. Great selections there. Hawthorn, 10 out of 10 for the Giants, if I didn't say that already. Hawthorn, they went a bit interesting and bit of an interesting approach. With pick 15, they selected Lavinia Cox with the basketball background, Daisy Flockhart from the Sandy Dragons at 23, Grace Barber at 28, Ellie Simons at 45, and Rebecca Cloddy at pick 50. I feel like, again, the Hawks lost Mattia Breed and Charlotte Baskaran, and all the players they picked, I feel like there was other players they could have gone with, and they just didn't do that. It's just really interesting, to be honest, to see what the Hawks did here and why they did it like this. I feel like Daisy Flockhart from the Sandy Dragons might be one that could get some opportunity after Mattia Breed left the club. Grace Barber the same, but the other ones, I'm not sure if they'll get games straight away. I mean, it's not all about playing straight away, but it's just very interesting. Though I feel like there was other players that all their selections that they could have gone elsewhere and would have made their draft haul even stronger. So I'm giving the Hawks a 4 out of 10. I feel like they really could have done better than that. But again, that's not a dig on those players. All of them will be very good. I just feel like the mixture of the players that they got, they could have changed it up. They could have got, for example, they could have got Sienna Talaridi, players like Sienna. They could have brought in Georgie McKee, Grace Martin. So I feel like there's some other players they really could have selected. Melbourne, it's a 4 out of 10 for me for the Hawks. Melbourne, they selected Molly O'Hare with pick 3 from WA, Maggie Mahoney from Victoria, and Amelia Deathridge from Victoria, who is a hockey player. Now, Amy Mackin was a late, how do you word it? Late out to the team list. She is recovering from an ACL injury and is going to be back home in Ireland, Amy Mackin, which is a big loss for Melbourne too, by the way. So they recruited Amelia Deathridge, and, these players from other sporting backgrounds, they, seem to be really good and adapt pretty well. So we'll see if Amelia can do that. But it was down to Molly O'Hare and Zippy Fish. You couldn't go wrong either way. Maggie will be an interesting selection to their midfield as well. For Melbourne, I'm going to give them a 5 out of 10. 5 out of 10 for the Demons. For North Melbourne, they had 2 selections, pick 36 and 43. They went Claire Mahoney, not related to Maggie, and Amy Gavin Mangan, who is now the 5th Irish player to join the Roos, along with Erica O'Shea, Neve Martin, Blaheem, and now you add Amy to the mix, and Vicky Wall, of course. So the 5th Irish player to join the Roos. They did what they had to do, I guess. So there were later selections. They could have selected Georgia McKee. Clearly, they had an aim of getting another Irish player into the club. But again, they don't really have needs they need to fill. But in saying that, they could have selected a few other players as well. For the Roos, I'll give them a 4.5 out of 10. Port Adelaide, With pick 19, they selected Lily Patterson from WA in the Swan Districts, Jasmine Evans from South Australia, Gemma Charity from South Australia, pick 40. Jasmine Evans was pick 33. And Lily Patterson, as I said, was pick 19. Chloe Gaunt at pick 48. She is from the Brisbane Lions Academy, a key forward. So it's another tall option for Poilate. And Jasmine Sowden with pick 52 from the Gippsland Power. Overall for the Poilate Football Club, I feel like they couldn't do much better. Lily Patterson from WA with pick 19 as a draft bolter, I think will be a steal. It was one of the best players in the state championships overall. And was third in the league, best and fairest in the Waffle W. One vote behind Zippy Fish. And Jamie Harkin, who won, who was one of the best ever players of Waffle W history in the last 5 years, and was recruited for the Eagles this season just gone. So Lily Patterson, great selection there, as I mentioned before. Jasmine Evans will be a good selection. Gemma Charity, as I mentioned also before, a potential pick 1 only 2 years ago. So to get her at 40 is a steal. So overall for the Poilate Football Club, I'm giving them a 10 out of 10. I feel like they couldn't do much better either with their selections. Lily Patterson and Gemma Charity are the two that will be very, very good for them, for me. As I mentioned earlier, they'll be great selections. For the Power, 10 out of 10. The Power AFLW recruiting team always nailed the draft. They nailed it last year. They stole the draft and trade period last year, and they've stolen the draft again. Last year, it was Loz Young, Piper Window, Sinead Goody, Molly Brooksby, and Alyssa Brooke. And now this year, in particular, adding Lily Patterson and Gemma Charity to that just makes their draft crop even better. And a dangerous side. They were a side that made a prelim this year. They could go one step further with some of those draftees they've added on top of the ones they drafted last year. And you had Ella Heads in the trade period. So 10 out of 10 for me for the Power. Richmond, they selected Sierra Greaves at pick 11. Great selection. Zoe Hargroves at pick 20. Good selection. And Paige Scott at pick 31. The former Bomber, who is now a Tiger, who wanted to get to Richmond in the trade period. They couldn't eventuate, so she had to go through the draft way. And at pick 31, Paige Scott, the former Bomber forward at the Tigers. I mean, the Tigers did pretty well themselves. Sierra Greaves, I love that selection to pick 11. Zoe Hargroves as well. So I'm going to give the Tigers an 8 out of 10. The Saints, they traded out of the draft, which I wasn't happy with in terms of like their first selection being 32, then 55 and 58. Again, like a few other clubs, they passed on some players they really should have looked at getting. It's just very interesting to see with how they went. So, like, for the Saints, they went Zoe Basenko, pick 32 from the Dandenong Stingrays, a tall player that can pinch it in the ruck. Kyla Forbes from the Calder Cannons at 55. Played through all positions this year, so that is something that I don't mind, the selection of players that are versatile. And at pick 58, Alana G, the former Gold Coast player, who was a former first-round draft pick, unfortunately did her ACL in the preseason this year, so hopefully she's back for when the season starts again. Actually, I'm really excited with the selection of Alana G, to be honest. Got to meet her last year. She's a great person, but aside from that, that's not why. She adds a different presence to the Saints midfield. You got Tiana Smith, who's like a runner. Patrikios is the same. But I think our midfield is one of our weakest areas, and some small forward options which they didn't address, besides Amber Clark, which is great. So Alana G can provide a different, more of a physical midfielder, an inside mid, and all fit and fire. I think Alana G could be a steal for the Saints. So for me, the Saints trade period, I think it's a 4 out of 10. I've got to be brutally honest. People want to say I'm biased, but well, what are you going to say for that? I feel like they really could have done more. They really could. Now, in saying that, the trade period was not a 4 out of 10. That was like a 10 out of 10. Amber Clark and Charlotte Baskren and Nicole Barr. So you've got 6 new players at the club this year, 4 players from other clubs technically, and 2 draftees. So 4 new players from other clubs and 2 draftees, Zoe Bazenko and Kyla Forbes. But for the Saints, a 4 out of 10 for the draft period. The Swans, at pick 5, they selected Zippy Fish at number 5, Amelia Martin, a part of their academy at 56, Caitlin Reid at 59, a ruckman who played a few games for the Geelong VFLW side, and Sarah Steele Park from the Sanford W forward at pick 61. A funny story about Sarah Steele Park. She was a person running water for the AFLW side this year and was a runner or something like that as well. So very interesting story. A runner / water woman now turned a AFLW player. So that's great news for the Swans and Sarah Steele Park. Zippy Fish, though, is the big talking point here. Great selection. I love this selection of the Swans. I know they can't believe they've gotten her. Scott Gowans will be thrilled. You add Zippy Fish to Laura Gardner and Ali Morford in that midfield. My God, if Zippy ends up staying at the Swans her whole career, they could be bloody unstoppable. If her and Laura Gardner and Ali Morford's only young as well. Zippy's only 18. Ali, I think, is only 19, 20 or turning 20. And Laura Gardner's only about 23. So that is a scary trio for that midfield for the next 10 to 15 years. That is unbelievable. Amelia Martin, part of their academy. Caitlin Reeves is at a ruck and Sarah Steele Parker forward from the SANFLW. So, I mean, just because they got Zippy alone, I'm giving them an 8 out of 10. I really am. They got some ruck support for Ali Morford with Caitlin Reid. They have got Lexi Hamilton there already as well. So I feel like maybe this is more of a backup option. And yeah. So the Swans 8 out of 10 purely because they got Zippy Fish. Can't believe that. West Coast, they selected with pick 7 Lucia Painter, as I mentioned earlier, Charlotte Riggs at 24. Lucy Boyd from SA is a forward option at 53. And Kayla Dalgleish from Victoria at pick 57. Eagles did really well. Can't fault the Eagles again. I'm giving them an 8 out of 10 for the Eagles. Simple as that. They did well. Charlotte Riggs will be a great selection as a key defender option with Charlie Thomas. Lucia Painter add to that star midfield with Ali Drennan and Ella Roberts. And Jay Britton and co through the wing areas as well. Well, Lucia will play more inside mid, but my point is in the midfield crew. Lucy Boyd could be a handy addition up forward and Kayla Dalgleish through the midfield half-forward line area. So 8 out of 10 for me for the Eagles. They did pretty good. I mean, if you wanted to pick anything, they could have maybe... Well, no, you can't really, because Charlotte Riggs at 24 is a great selection. Lucia Painter at 7. I mean, I mentioned her a few times. That Ciara Greaves could have been a selection of a player they could have selected. I know they would have wanted Molly O'Hare or Zippy Fish, but it just wasn't happening. So Lucia Painter is a good option for them, and Charlotte Riggs is an intercept defender. Final team to go through is the Western Bulldogs. Emma McDonald, a key forward from Victoria, pick 8 from Oakley Chargers, as I mentioned. Good selection there. Sarah Powsty, a midfielder, pick 25. Great selection there. And Gilly Hardingham from their VFW side, pick 49. Now, I was at a lot of the VFW games this year, in particular Western Bulldogs games. And Keely was always a very dominant ruck, pretty much every game. It was the best ruck in the competition all year. I actually said to some people, I said, you watch, the Bulldogs will draft her. And once they delisted Georgia Borg, I'm like, a bit harsh, she's coming off an ACL injury, but I thought they're going to need a ruck. And I know where they're going, and it's Keely Hardingham, and they absolutely did that at pick 49. I'm surprised Geelong didn't try and steal her early, as I mentioned before. So great selections for the Bulldogs at the selections they had. Again, could they have gone Georgie Brisbane instead at pick 8? Emma McDonald's a good player as well, so couldn't lose either way. For the Bulldogs, I'm giving them a 9 out of 10. I thought they were pretty good with the selections they had with who was available as well. Now, Geelong, Richmond and Essendon all kept a list spot open. I feel like Geelong could use a small forward. Richmond could use maybe some defenders. And Essendon, I feel like they need help everywhere. So whether that's a ruck option, which they didn't address, they lost Steph Wales, unfortunately, to an ACL injury, who probably won't play at all next season. They did not draft one ruck at all. So I don't know what they think they're going to do with their ruck stocks in 2025. Sophie Alexander, their only option at the moment. Emily Goff is more of a key forward, not a ruck. So I don't know what the hell they're going to do. They're going to have to pick a ruck in the injury replacement player period or preseason supplementary period selection. Now, I want to go through some names. There's always unlucky names, but so I'm going to list off some names and then I'm going to detail a few of them that I just could not believe it. So Noah McNaughton from WA, a small forward mid. Millie Lang from the Rebels in Victoria, intercept defender who had the ability to play out forward and did well as well through the Coates Talent League. Holly Britton from WA from Peel Thunder. Sabella Banks from WA, a lockdown defender. Kobe Morgan, intercept defender from SA. Amelia Prosser Shaw from New South Wales, a defender. Zimi Hussain from Queensland, a small forward. Layla Ebert, a midfielder from SA. Esther Sherma from SA, who can play through the back line as well. And T. Perry from the Allies, who I thought has a lot of speed and agility on her, got a good leap on her. So those players in particular, there's more I could mention, like Kiara Woods as well, Bella Banks, Layla Ferns, Sienna Jezewski. So there's plenty of other names that I feel like were really unlucky. But the three, it's really hard because you can mount a case that all of them are screwed and deserved a spot. And like I mentioned off the top, never give up on your dreams. There's all these avenues. I just mentioned Geelong, Richmond, and Essendon have a list spot open, so they could have them for any of those girls there. And if it doesn't, just because you're not drafted at 18 doesn't mean it's over. Go look at Ailey Shearing. Go speak to her. I'm sure she'll have a chat to you. Jamie Harkin the same. Just go have a chat to them and, improve in those two names in particular that you never give up. But I could not believe Noel McNaughton, Millie Lang, Sabella Banks, and Kobe Morgan were not picked up. And Holly Britton. I mean, I was just speechless. Noel McNaughton was one of WA's best players in the state championships, along with Lily Patterson and Zippy Fish. And I could not believe it. I had her at 18 at Geelong, and she didn't get picked up at all. I could not believe that. I think probably the most unlucky one of this year's draft crop is Noel McNaughton and Millie Lang. Killed it in the state championships for Vic Country as well, Millie Lang. Intercept defender, did her job and did it for the Rebels as well. Had the ability to go up forward and kick some goals. Kicked 5 goals in one game and had like 24 disposals. And she's a key defender. So I cannot believe it. Clubs are dying for key defenders. And Millie Lang, I thought was a guarantee. I had her around 15 as well. Those two in particular were absolutely screwed big time. Sabella Banks did a lockdown job on Ash Centra in the second half in WA's match against Vic Country. And I mean, that alone should have got a draft. And then she'd done the job on so many plays through the state championships and down at Waffle W level. And I cannot believe she didn't get a go. Holly Britton had a great season for Peel Thunder, the sister of Jade Britton from the Eagles. I would have thought the West Coast Eagles would have been someone that looked at Holly late instead of some other players they selected and picked local. They did not pick one WA player, West Coast, 2 SA players and 2 Victorian players. So very interesting there, the Eagles. Again, for Holly, I mean, I'm sure the opportunity will come eventually, but I'm really shocked she didn't get it. And Kobe Morgan, a player that I saw dominate for SA in the state championships as a defender option, an intercept defender. I mean, I saw her play so well and did not get picked up because those are the games you need to stand out in, and she did do that. I could not believe it. I really couldn't. Noel McNaughton, Millie Lang, Holly Britton, Sabella Banks, and Kobe Morgan are the 5 in particular that I thought, what the hell? How have they not been picked up? But head up to all those girls that didn't get picked up, including the ones I mentioned. That opportunity, I'm sure, will happen. Never give up. You just never know when that opportunity will arise. Thank you all very much for watching this. There'll be more videos to come through the coming weeks and months, leading to both the AFLW and AFL seasons. There'll be more posts like Best 22s I'll probably do for the AFLW soon as well. Any videos I'll do throughout the time, interviews and golfing challenges and everything like that. So there'll still be more AFL and AFLW draft content to come, everything like that. Keep an eye out on my Instagram page, AFL Info Live. Please subscribe on there if you haven't already. I would greatly, greatly appreciate it. Thank you all very much. Go Saints. And before I do that, actually, let me put the graphic up of all this year's draft selections, all on the screen for you there to read, and pause it if you like. But you know what? I care for my fans, so I'll read them all out for you. With pick 1, Collingwood selected Ash Centra. Pick 2, Gold Coast selected Havana Harris. Pick 3, Melbourne selected Molly O'Hare. Pick 4, GWS selected Sarah Howley. Pick 5, Sydney Zippy Fish. Pick 6, Carlton Poppy Schultz. Pick 7, West Coast Lucia Painter. Pick 8 for the Western Bulldogs, Emma McDonald. Pick 9 for the Bombers, Grace Baloney. Pick 10 for Geelong, Alexis Gregor. Pick 11 for the Tigers, Ciara Greaves. Pick 12 for Essendon, Holly Ridewood. Pick 13 for the Crows, India Rashid. Pick 14 for the Dockers, Georgie Brisbane. Pick 15 for the Hawks, Lavinia Cox. Pick 16 for the Lions, Claudia Wright. Pick 17 for Carlton, Sophie McKay. Pick 18, Geelong, Sienna Talaridi. Pick 19 for the Power, Lily Patterson. Pick 20 for the Tigers, Zoe Hargraves. Pick 21 for Melbourne, Maggie Mahoney. Pick 22 for the Giants, Grace Martin. Pick 23 for the Hawks, Stacey Flockhart. Pick 24 for the Eagles, Charlotte Riggs. Pick 25 for the Western Bulldogs, Sarah Pousty. Pick 26 for the Pies, Georgia Knight. Pick 27 for the Suns, Heidi Talbot. Pick 28 for the Hawks, Grace Barber. Pick 29 for the Suns, Mia Salisbury. Pick 30 for the Bombers, Taya Chambers. Pick 31 for Richmond, Paige Scott. Pick 32 for the Saints, Zoe Bazanko. Pick 33 for the Power, Jasmine Evans. Pick 34 for the Freo Football Club, Holly Egan. Pick 35 for the Bombers, Sophie Strong. Pick 36 for the Roos, Claire Marnie. Pick 37 for Geelong, Piper Dunlop. Pick 38 for the Dockers, Evie Parker. Pick 39 for the Brisbane Lions, Lily Baker. Pick 40 for the Power, Gemma Charity. Pick 41 for the Suns, Nyali Milne. Pick 42 for the Pies, Violet Patterson. Pick 43 for the Roos, Amy Gavin Mangan. Pick 44 for the Crows, Georgia McKee. Pick 45 for the Hawks, Ali Simons. Pick 46 for the Blues, Lulu Field. Pick 47 for the Suns, Tara Harrington. Pick 48 for the Power, Chloe Gaunt. Pick 49 for the Western Bulldogs, Keely Hardingham. Pick 50 for the Hawks, Rebecca Cloudy. Pick 51 for the Dockers, Indy Strom. Pick 52 for Port Adelaide, Jasmine Sowden. Pick 53 for the Eagles, Lucy Boyd. Pick 55 for the Saints, Kyla Forbes. Pick 56 for the Swans, Amelia Martin. Pick 57 for the Eagles, Kayla Dalgleish. Pick 58 for the Saints, Alana G. Pick 60 for the Swans, Caitlin Reid. Pick 61 for the Swans, Sarah Steele Park. And the last pick of the 2024 AFLW National Draft with pick 63, the Melbourne Football Club selected Amelia Dethridge. And this year's number one pick for the Collingwood Football Club, Ash Centra. Thank you all for watching. Till the next video, take care and go Usainers.